So, Starfield has been out for over a week now, and Bethesda Game Studios has finally broken their silence on the first set of updates that will be coming to the game. They tweeted about it, there was an article on their website as well, and in fact, there was an update released today. I'll tell you what was in that update in a quick second, but mainly for this video, I want to go through what they said and provide some of my critique on how they're approaching these features that will be introduced in these updates. Mainly, I want to say that some, if not all of these features, should have been in the game at launch. And I want to be very clear, yes, I'm providing my criticism, but it's constructive. I still love this game. I provided it a 9 out of 10 on my review, and I've been constantly raving about it on Twitter to the stage where people have been pissed off with me. But that's fine, all right? I like the game. But there's still things that I don't agree with. There's still things that I'd like to highlight that I want to see improved or that I just don't like at all, you know? So when it comes to the approach of these updates and the features that are going to be introduced, I have some things to say, and we'll get to that in a second. If you like this video, please like it. I'd really appreciate it. Subscribe if you're new. But let's get right into it. So this is what they start off the update with. First, an enormous thank you to all of you playing Starfield and your support. We are absolutely blown away by the response and all you love about the game. We're also reading all your great feedback on what you'd like to see improved or added to the game. This is a game we'll be supporting for years and years to come, so please keep all the feedback coming. Even if we don't get to your requests immediately, we'd love to do it in the future, like city maps. Let's stop there for a second. City maps is a key thing. If you read or watch IGN's review, and I know a lot of you don't like it because you don't agree with the score. I don't agree with the score. I believe 7 is too low. But they brought up a very valid criticism about the game in that it doesn't have maps for cities. I frequently got confused, especially in cities like New Atlantis, where I just could not remember where certain shops were. And I would forget that certain shops actually existed that you don't, visit frequently enough. The fact that the cities don't have maps is mind-boggling and did make it very difficult to go and traverse through those cities, right? I get it when it comes to the 1,000 plus, procedurally generated planets. Makes complete sense for that. But for the known cities that they've built out, they've handcrafted, for them to not have maps directing people and navigating people through the cities, that is mind-boggling. So thankfully that is coming if modders don't get to it first. But that is something that, that should have been in the game at launch. And I agree with IGN's criticism on that point. But moving on from there. Our priority initially is making sure any top block of bugs or stability issues are addressed and adding quality of life features that many are asking for. So they go on to say this first update that released today at the time of this recording is a small hotfix targeted at the few top issues we are seeing. Now I'm going to scroll down to what was in this update. There's not that many fixes or changes that they've actually listed in this article, and I want to talk about that, but let's read it verbatim. Update version 1.7.29 fixes and improvements. I don't get their naming conventions. Is it a date? I have no idea. Performance and stability. Xbox Series X and S. Improved stability related to installation. That's good. Pretty vague, but it's good. Second one, various stability and performance improvements to reduce crashes and improve frame rate. I'm hoping that does improve things. I hear that there's also an NVIDIA update for you playing with NVIDIA cards today that also helps improve some of the stutters in the game, and that might be tied in with that, but if that's for everyone on Xbox and everyone on PC, that's really good to see. And then we talk about quests. All that money can buy fixed an issue where player activity could result in a quest blocker. Good that they fixed that. Into the unknown. Fixed an issue that could prevent the quest from appearing after the game is completed. And finally, Shadows of Neon fixed an issue where player activity could result in a quest blocker. So these are the main blockers that they mentioned that they want to fix right out of the game. I will say, for their first update to the game, this seems light on. And I want to just I don't want to jump to conclusions, but I really hope this isn't another instance of, if you remember with Fallout 76 at launch, when they released their first update, it was like one of their earlier updates, and they released their patch notes for that update. It was bare bones, really brief, didn't know what was really changing. And then they're like, no, there are actual more changes to the game that was introduced in that update, but they just weren't mentioned in the patch notes. I really hope this is not what's happening here. I really hope that I don't see a thread on Reddit later that's like, hey, this update actually did this, and this, and they should have included it in their patch notes, because they should have learned from Fallout 76 to not do that. They should know by now. if this is what is occurring, and we don't know yet, but they should know by now that their patch notes need to be in detail and in depth so people know what is changing. I'm not saying that this is what is occurring here. I don't know yet. I don't know if there are any other further changes that weren't mentioned. I just hope that that's not the case. Okay, I don't want to start off on the wrong foot with Starfield. We've got a good thing going here. So if there are any other changes, BGS, please mention them. And if they're not, if this is as comprehensive as this patch note needs to be, perfect. I'm loving your work, okay? Just a small thing that I wanted to throw out there. But going back to the rest of the update, they continue. After that, expect a regular interval of updates that have top community requested features, including brightness and contrast controls, HDR calibration menu, FOV slider, NVIDIA DLSS support for PC, 32:9 ultra-wide monitor support again for PC, and an eat button for food. Let's talk about these first, okay? There's some in there, and I've mainly talked about DLSS on my channel. There are some features in there that, yes, should have been in the game at launch. The ones that I'm going to say straight away should have been in there is an FOV slider. We went through this with Fallout 76. They didn't have an FOV slider, and people were like, what's going on? We're in 2023 with a game that has that much money behind it and has been spent so many years in development. It should have had an FOV slider out of the gate. We shouldn't need or be expected to go through any files to change that. The modding community shouldn't be expected, and maybe they aren't expecting them to because they're now introducing the feature. But the modding community shouldn't have to introduce an FOV slider before Bethesda Game Studios does. That should have been in the game right out of the bat because the FOV is cramped on a PC. It absolutely is, right? So it does boggle my mind that it's not there already, especially because it's in the photo mode. There is an FOV slider in the photo mode. The capability is there, but it's just not in the main menu. So that should have been in the game at launch, and it should be in the next update, in my opinion. DLSS is also the other one. So I watched Digital Foundry's kind of tech breakdown of Starfield, where they made some commentary about how when a games developer already includes an upscaling technology in their game, like Starfield has with the FSR2, it's actually not that much harder to also include other upscalers like DLSS or XESS. When they're already doing one, it's really easy to include others, and apparently some top devs have made that comment publicly. So if they've already included FSR2, and we've talked about how AMD has said there's nothing blocking Bethesda Game Studios from introducing and supporting DLSS, right? Then they should have had DLSS at launch as well. That should have been in the game to specifically support NVIDIA graphics cards. I know some of you out there don't have NVIDIA graphics cards, but a lot of us do, and we prefer DLSS. And that is something that should have been in there at launch as well. They do go on to say that they're working with NVIDIA to improve the game's performance, but it does boggle my mind again a little bit that we don't have DLSS if there wasn't a contractual reason behind that, okay? So it's good that it's coming to the game, but again, the modding community already came in and they replaced FSR2. There was a few mods they had for it, but one of them was essentially replacing FSR2 with DLSS, and now BGS is coming in and adding their own DLSS, and I don't know how that's going to mess with those games that have already had that mod installed. So it should have just been included out of the gate at launch. But again, it's good that it's coming eventually. And also as well, and I don't have an ultra-wide monitor, but it should have had ultra-wide monitor support, right? Like, again, we're in 2023. It's a feature that should have been in there. The other stuff I'm not so concerned with, like brightness and contrast controls. Again, that is in the photo mode. I don't like how BGS approaches contrast, especially when it comes to their photo modes. And I had the same criticism with 76. It just crushes the black so much. And the brightness is okay. So I don't know if I'm ever going to use that. So that's not something that I expected to be in the game at launch, but it's nice that it's coming. So that is good. HDR calibration menu. I've never really used, I do have an HDR monitor, but it messes my capturing software. But for those of you that do use HDR, yeah, you need a calibration menu, right? So that's probably something that should have been in the game at launch as well. An eat button for food. I saw some people making the joke that that's the most important update coming in these future updates. That's really good because, yeah, food is kind of annoying unless you have a bunch of food that you're eating in your inventory, and they don't provide much health benefits either. Some provide additional benefits. But aside from you doing that, you're not really using food aside from looking at it because it looks pretty and detailed. If there is an eat button for food, as soon as we see a piece of food, yeah, we'd eat it. I'm less likely to eat it when it's in my inventory. I'm actually less likely to pick it up in the first place if there isn't a neat button for it. So that is good. It's not crazily important. But the other features, yeah, for the most part, I do believe shouldn't be in the game at launch. And there's a lot of other features. There's a lot of other community requested features that people would like in there. For instance, a tagging button for junk to say if you've picked up something and you want to tag it as junk, you can tag everything as junk. So when you go to a vendor, you can just sell it all at once. That should have been included. Also as well, oh my God, I'm not going to get into it, but unlimited inventory in Outposts. I don't know why we don't have unlimited inventory. Why is it just the one safe in the lodge? That is the only place that I've seen that you can do unlimited inventory. So all of my resources are there, and if I want to use it on my other outposts, I have to build so many storage boxes. Anyways, all right, I'm getting off topic. So those are the features that will be coming in the coming weeks, months. That's the other thing that I do have a criticism here. They don't provide a timeline. It is difficult, admittedly, to provide timelines for some of these things, okay? So I understand they don't want to be like, yeah, it's coming on this specific date. But at least say the coming weeks, right? At least give us a rough guide, because now we're just sitting and waiting for these features that, yeah, maybe we want to go to Nexus and install the mod just to get us going until we get to your official update. It's good to have a rough timeline. It is good. But anyways, we'll see when these updates come. But then they go on to say that we're also working closely with NVIDIA, AMD, and Intel on driver support, and each update will include new stability and performance improvements. That's another thing that I was a bit miffed about, in that how there wasn't, from what I saw, I could be wrong, please correct me if I'm wrong, there was an NVIDIA update at launch for the game, or during early access at least. I don't even think even at launch NVIDIA released an update. I think today might have been the first update or driver update that NVIDIA released specifically for Starfield. Usually that stuff happens right out of the bat. Usually with most games that I play nowadays, NVIDIA has released an update, or other games that I see launch, I see that there's an update in GeForce, right? So the fact that didn't come out of the gate for Starfield, again, is a bit mind-boggling. But it's good to see that they are, working with those companies to release those updates. Especially with Intel, I've seen people, with Intel graphics have difficulties playing the game. There are some performance issues. So it's good to see they're also working with Intel on that too. But obviously with AMD, it's pretty much an AMD sponsored game. So they've been working with AMD for a while. That's why we have FSR2, etc., etc. But let's go on to talk about creations. Additionally, they say, we are working on our built-in mod support creations that will work across all platforms, similar to what we've done with Skyrim and Fallout 4. This full support is planned to launch early next year. Until then, we know our PC community is already very active in the modding space, and if you have any feedback on how we can make this better, please let us know. Obviously, releasing official tools. I think Todd said that's coming next year, but that is the next step. But the modders are already doing such a great job with all these mods already, even without official tools. I believe we have a script extender for Starfield already, which is insane. Modding and creating in our games will always be a vital and important part of who we are, and we love seeing the community get off to such a strong start. And they say keep coming with all the feedback, etc. Creations. They're not calling it Creation Club, but we knew that it was going to come back in some capacity. All right, we knew this. We knew that it was going to happen. And it just depends. It depends on how it's implemented. We need more information. We need more information about, and I don't know if they're ever going to release this before it actually comes out, but how much are these things going to cost? Okay, how are they going to compare to the mods that we already have for the game? The way that I'm viewing creations is for mainly people on Xbox, where you don't have access to Nexus, you don't have access to any other form of modding. This is great for people like you on Xbox that want some form of modding, some form of creations, call it whatever you want, and you just can't get access to the full suite of them on Nexus, all right? This is, I see as for you. But for those of us on PC, when we already have a huge suite of free mods from the modding community that are so passionate and invested in this game already, then it's difficult to say, well, I'm going to buy a certain creation, right? It is just difficult for me to make that argument. I see most of the revenue coming from creations is through people on Game Pass and on Xbox downloading and using these creations. So let me know what you think about all of this, and in particular about creations, because it's going to be a talking point. It's going to inevitably attract some criticism, but I'm just hoping, mainly, even though it doesn't affect me too much because I'm on PC, I hope that the prices are fair. That is the number one thing. All right, I don't want to see these prices be, blown out of the water. Now, I understand that there's a bit of a balance to be drawn because a lot of the people are playing. Oh, there goes my screen. A lot of people are playing the game on Game Pass. So yeah, Bethesda Game Studios want some extra money, some extra revenue through some other means, and this is a way to do it, in addition to DLC and expansions and all that. So there is a balance to be drawn. They don't want to charge too little, and they also, in my opinion, shouldn't charge too much. So let's see what happens. Provide your thoughts in the comments below. And until next time, this has been Lone. Please take care of yourselves, and would you kindly keep fighting the good fight.